Welcome into the Weather Wednesday podcast here at New England Storm Center. So, tropical New England is going to be coming out soon by the end of this month. I don't have an exact date yet. I'm hoping to have it out and ready for purchase on next Wednesday, April 26th, but that's not confirmed. So Tropical New England, if you don't know, it's a book that I have been writing, and I've been writing this. This is a project that started for me last summer. So I do a lot of excuse me. I do a lot of like weather documentation. I created the New England Snowstorm Hall of Fame, the American Snowstorm Hall of Fame, and the New England Tornado Database, to name a few of the weather documentation that I keep track of. And I decided to start keeping track of tropical cyclones that have impacted New England. And of course, online you can find multiple places where you can find every single landfalling tropical cyclone in New England. So I decided to take it one step further, and this one step further ended up being like 5 steps further. But I decided let's go through the Atlantic Hurricane Database, which dates back to 1851, and find every single tropical cyclone that has impacted New England, whether it made landfall in New England or not. So I did, and I made a big list of every single tropical cyclone that came close enough to bring impacts to New England since 1851. I then decided to go back further and find every single one that I could find before the official database. So that went back to the Great Colonial Hurricane of 1635. There's a big handful of other tropical cyclones that struck between 1635 and 1850. I should say likely tropical cyclones, since nothing's confirmed before the database. But then I found in this pursuit, I really wanted this to become the most complete record of tropical cyclone activity that I could possibly do for New England. So I was looking for anything that maybe we could find something that went before the Great Colonial Hurricane of 1635. And when I started looking into that, I found what's called paleotempestology, which is studying prehistoric tropical cyclone activity using geological evidence. So that brought us way back. I was able to find three paleotempestological studies that were done in New England that date back all the way to AD 150. So I found out some of that information. Of course, that's all potential. You can't, with the limitations, and I go into the limitations of paleotempestology in the book, but it's all potential. There's no way to truly confirm these tropical cyclones. But I did include those that brought the date back all the way to AD 150 is the furthest paleotempestological study that went back in New England. Again, I found 3 total that gave us a pretty good chunk of information on potential tropical cyclone activity prior to the Great Colonial Hurricane of 1635. So I can promise you that this Tropical New England book, this is the most complete and comprehensive record of tropical cyclones in New England you will find anywhere. I can promise you that. There are 42 total sections of the book that go into detail about over 60 storms. And on top of that, I do have tables throughout the book that list every single last tropical cyclone. I didn't write about every single last one, but every single one is listed in the book. And I can promise you, this is the most complete record of tropical cyclones in New England that you will find anywhere. So I'm very excited to be able to release it again. I started working on this last summer, and I'm very excited to get it out there and have some people read it over. It's by far the biggest and most involved weather documentation project that I ever did. The Snowstorm Halls of Fame and the New England Tornado Database, they not even come close to the amount of work that I put into tropical New England. So very excited to be coming up toward the end of this project and be able to get it out there. You can see excerpts of the book. I've posted a couple already, and I'll keep posting them on newenglandstormcenter.com for you to read there. But again, the book will be available to purchase by the end of April. All right, so moving on to the other end of the weather spectrum, we're going to start talking about some snow and wintry weather now. So, this past winter, I wrote an article about the Snow King blizzard and the Arctic blast of 1899. And it was one of the worst, if not the worst, or most intense Arctic outbreak in U.S. history. And after that article, I started thinking about the name Snow King, and eventually I came up with the name Spring King Blizzard. And I thought that was a pretty good name for a snowstorm. So good, in fact, that I wanted to add it to the Snowstorm Hall of Fame. So, either the New England one or the United States one. So it was to the point where I was kind of hoping for a big snowstorm, big Hall of Fame worthy snowstorm, so I could add Spring King because uh, I thought that was a good name, and with I'd have a big handful of snowstorms in the American Snowstorm Hall of Fame. So, unique names are starting to run low. So when I think of one like that, I want to be able to put it in there. So now that we are getting into late April, you can say now that New England didn't get one. New England is not going to get one, but the Midwest sure got one. Just a couple of days ago, a major snowstorm struck, hit Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin very hard. And there were some pretty impressive amounts. There was over a foot in places. I'm just scrolling through the snow totals right now. La Crescent, over a foot of snow. Money Creek, nearly a foot, and this is in Minnesota. I'm sorry, I forgot to look at the state, but that's in Minnesota. I was still scrolling through. We had a footfall in Marshland, just over 21 inches falling in Thorpe. Neilsville picked up 19, Loyal 18, Owen 17 inches of snow. That is really impressive for April. Northfield 22 inches, Hickston 20 inches, and it just keeps going. I'm seeing more 20-inch amounts in La Crosse County, Monroe County over a foot. I mean, those are some pretty impressive numbers for, April 16th and 17th. So I would say those amounts are enough to get the name Spring King Blizzard into the American Snowstorm Hall of Fame. Those are some impressive amounts. It is really hard to get snow accumulating in mid-April. So to get it to pile up that much in mid-April, that is something. So, and for the record, I did need this storm to strike somewhere outside of Colorado or the higher elevations of the West. Colorado, Denver sees their most snow in March and April. Denver's snowiest month of the year is March, and their second snowiest month of the year is April. So a big spring snowstorm out there would not be quite as impressive as it was in the Midwest, or if it had struck, the Ohio Valley or the Northeast, these lower elevations. All right, so the resort roundup keeps on rolling here into late April. We are coming down to it. Just 6 resorts are still open. We monitor 42, so we're coming right down to it. 2 states remaining. Vermont and Maine are the final 2. There's no surprise there. They always are. New Hampshire had 4 resorts in the White Mountains going this past weekend. All 4 of them closed for the season this past weekend. So New Hampshire is done for skiing for the season. And now it's just a matter of how far can these final 6 resorts push into the spring. And we also need to start thinking about what resort is going to be open second to last, of course. We all know Killington is going to be open the latest, but which resort will be second to last? I am playing it safe. I picked J Peak as the resort that will be open second to last. They were open second to last year. So I'm just gonna pick them. That's gonna be my prediction. I'm just gonna go with them. Way up in northern Vermont, they pushed. They had Mother's Day skiing last year. We'll see if they have Mother's Day skiing this year. I bet they will. We'll see. Again, it all depends on just how quickly the snow melts away, and only time will tell just how warm it gets. We have some more warm weather coming in at the end of this week for Vermont. Maine, not going to get into the heat so much this Friday, but Vermont could be shooting into the 70s. Most of the state could be shooting into the 70s, so they will be doing a bit more melting than Maine during this little warm up. Of course, now that it's late April, the difference between highs in the 50s and 60s and the 70s. The snow is melting away quickly. It's the strong sun angle is going to keep on melting things no matter what the temperature is at this point. So we'll just have to keep on watching and see what happens. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Weather Wednesday podcast here at New England Storm Center. So keep it right here. Keep it at newenglandstormcenter.com. And you will hear from me again next Wednesday.